Hey everybody, Charges here, and welcome back to Roller Coaster Tycoon. Doing another scenario time lapse, episode number 2. So that means we're doing Dynamite Dunes. I plan on doing these in order. I can't even do any of the later scenarios because I haven't unlocked them yet. But yeah, Dynamite Dunes, 650 guests at the end of year 3 is the goal. Which I kind of find it to be kind of a significant jump from the Forest Frontiers objective. I would have thought that something like for the second scenario would be like, I don't know, at the end of year 2, maybe like 500 guests at the end of year 2, but it's still a very easy scenario, but I find it significantly harder than Forest Frontiers. I kind of, I don't know, that's just me, that's just kind of a thought, but I do prefer this scenario over Forest Frontiers, actually. I generally prefer a foresty park or anything with grass, and I know this is a very minor inconvenience, but I hated as a kid when you deploy handymen, and I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but you forget to unselect the lawnmower option on the handyman, and then like an hour later you realize that they're mowing the grass. Like, you don't even notice it until like an hour later, and you're like, oh my gosh. And they're mowing right next to a tile of path that has vomit on it, and they won't get it. They will just keep mowing the grass, and it just bothered me. But it's great that in this scenario you don't have to worry about unselecting that. You just deploy the handyman and they will get to work. They don't mow the sand. Luckily, you know, it would be kind of weird if they made that possible in this game. Okay, so with Dynamite Dunes, but yeah, I do enjoy this scenario a lot. And when it comes to these scenarios, I'm not gonna focus on scenery at all. I know some people like to do that, like they like to decorate a little bit, but I'm gonna save the decorating for my other types of videos, like my mega park and my I'm doing some other little series here and there. Those will be more for decorating. This is kind of more of a focusing on the objective kind of thing. So yeah, so I'll just be doing these scenarios in order. Maybe get to the Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 scenarios at some point, do some expansions and whatnot. And also, when it comes to scenarios that have existing rides, as a kid, I would delete those right away, and I know I'm gonna get some hate for that, but as a kid, I would delete Dynamite Blaster immediately and just start fresh. I don't know, I like to have the park be like 100% mine with my own creations, but for the purpose of these videos, I'm keeping the existing rides, and that even goes for Diamond Heights. As a kid, I would delete all of the rides in there right away and delete all the footpath and start fresh. But we'll see. I think for most of these I'll try to keep the rides in there, but if it gets to the point where like I can't really beat it with the rides in there, you know, I might have to do some deleting of existing rides. In Dinky Park, I definitely have to delete the rides. I mean, I know it's possible to keep them in there, but I just find it easier to delete those flat rides that just get in the way too easily. So yeah, this is a little bit of a slower time lapse as well compared to Forest Frontiers. I think I may have made the Forest Frontiers time lapse just a little bit too fast, so I slowed it down just a little bit for this one. I think I did like 4 times speed or 6 times speed instead of 10 that I did for Forest Frontiers. But also it is until year 3, and Forest Frontiers was year 1, so that's like almost 3 hours versus 1 hour. But I also don't build for the entire 3 hours. Sometimes you'll see a sudden jump in the months on the bottom right. Like sometimes it'll just jump up a whole year or 6 months or something like that. That just means I didn't build anything or didn't do anything. I just kind of let the game sit for, yeah, there it is right there. I just kind of jumped up a whole year, just because, you know, you can see my park rating kind of dipped too. That's why I jumped back in. But yeah, kind of an average scenario here. I mean, also as a kid, I never built more than one type of ride. Maybe roller coasters I did, but for like flat rides, I felt like it was weird to put more than one of the same flat ride, like putting 2 merry-go-rounds in the park. I just found that like weird. But in this game, I've learned since I was a kid that it does not matter. Guests don't see it as the same. They'll get off one merry-go-round and go on another one and think of it as a new ride, you know? But in this case, I did do one of every single ride. I don't think I did any doubles, but in future scenarios, I might have to do that, because that's kind of a good strategy, is to just spam a bunch of like Ferris wheels or whatever, you know? But I also do build my flat rides, or not my flat rides, my tracked rides pretty big too. I know I've seen a lot of scenario gameplays out there where they build very small coasters and then just kind of copy and paste it, because that's what really brings in the guests. But I don't know, in these easier scenarios, I have the money to build these big coasters. You know, I kind of started right away with the wooden coaster there. And again, I'm not going to do really any scenery or anything. I'm just kind of focusing on the objective. So yeah, this is my take on Dynamite Dunes. I forget what the next scenario is. Leafy Lake, I believe. Yeah, so I really liked that scenario a lot. I remember having some good memories with that park, doing some like wacky coasters that kind of wrap around the lake and stuff. But yeah, also, just kind of backtracking a little bit, the very first thing I do when I start every scenario is see what my selection of rides and stalls are. Because if I remember correctly, I don't think I didn't get there yet with Force Frontiers or Dynamite Dunes, but there's certain scenarios that like don't give you a drink stall or something right away, and that's very crucial to have in a park, because eventually the guests are going to get thirsty, and then that just demolishes your park rating. So if I'm missing one of those food stalls, I make sure to select only the food stall so I can get that in right away. I also see like how much money I have compared to how many coasters I have. You know, if I can't build a lot of coasters, I might focus on building a bunch of flat rides. And if I don't have a lot of flat rides, then I got to make sure to do some research on the flat and gentle rides and stuff like that, and bring those in. And then maybe focus on getting more coasters towards the end and build more coasters once I receive more cash. So yeah, that's kind of my strategy. I do let the game sit for quite some time. And it looks like we're kind of ramping up here towards the end. And I didn't even really build that much on that mound of sand there. That mountain of, I don't know what you call it. I don't know what the terminology is for that. But, you know, every time I do this, like if I do this scenario like 10 more times, I would probably do it completely different all 10 times. I might do a lot of coasters on that big mound and stuff. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's my scenario. I'm just kind of doing a little tour now towards the end. I didn't name anything, unfortunately. I don't really do that when it comes to scenarios either. But yeah, that is it for this episode. And I will see you guys next time.